and the Zuzims in Ham, and the Emmons in Shaveh Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their Mount Seir unto Elparan, which is by the wilderness. And they returned and came to En Mishpat, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites and the Amorites that dwelt in Hazazontamar, there we go, perhaps. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboam, and the king of Bela, the same as Zor, and they joined battle with them in the vale of Siddim. So this is absolute chaos and mayhem in the lowest place. It's hell, essentially. With Chedorlaomer, the king of Elam, and with Tidal, king of nations, and Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elazar, 4 kings with 5. And the vale of Siddim was full of slime pits. Low and hell-like with war isn't enough. They had to throw the slime pits in there. Apparently, around the Dead Sea, there are pits of bitumen, like the tar pits near LA, and so this seems to actually be historically accurate. And the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took their goods, and they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals, and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. So Abram has a family member who falls into the lowest place. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. Well, so now we also know that Abram's a pretty brave guy, right? He gets word that this horrible war has broken out in the worst of all possible places, and that his nephew is involved, and the first thing he does is, mount up his posse and get the hell in there and rescue his nephew. So Abraham's whatever goodness is from the Old Testament perspective, it isn't harmlessness, right? It isn't emasculation and castration. It's not that. It's not weakness. It's not the inability to fight. None of that is associated with virtue. It's the sort of strength that enables someone to mount an armed team of 300 people when he finds out that his nephew is being kidnapped in a terrible war, and to get the hell out there and take him back. And so that's a call to it's a call to power, that not a kind of peaceful meekness. That's funny too, because there's a line in the New Testament, the meek shall inherit the earth. I got to look at my phone for a sec here, because I don't know what time it is. There's a line in the New Testament that says, and it's in the Sermon on the Mount, says the meek shall inherit the earth. And that line always bothered me. I thought, no way, that's not right. Meek can't be the right word. So when I was doing the story of Noah and talking about the Sermon on the Mount, I spent a bunch of time looking at commentaries on that line, looking at the roots, the Greek roots and the Hebrew roots, and trying to figure out what that meant. And meek does not mean meek. That's wrong. Here's what it means. Those who have weapons and know how to use them, but still keep them sheathed, will inherit the earth. Jesus, that's a lot different, man. It's a lot better, right? Because the way it's normally interpreted is, if you're so weak that you're harmless, then things will go well for you. It's like, no, that's not right. That can't be right. It doesn't fit with the narrative. It certainly doesn't fit with this narrative. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left side of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. Good work, Abraham. And the kings of Sodom went out to meet him after his return at the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that there were there with him at the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine. And he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thine hand. And he gave him tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said to Abraham, Give me the persons and take thy goods to thyself. That were the goods that Abram rescued, right, of the kings. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up mine hand unto the Lord. What does that mean? It means I've made a vow. That's what it means. That's what that phrase means. I've made a vow to God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take anything from a thread, even to a shoelace. I won't take anything that's yours, lest you should say, I've made Abram rich. I'll take only that which my young men have eaten, and the portion of men that went with me, and Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. And so Abraham decides here, he's made this immense sacrifice and done this incredibly brave act and rescued his nephew and rescued the king's goods, and they offer him a reward. And he says, I'm not going to take the reward. And the reason for that is that he doesn't want to contaminate the ethical purity of his actions. He doesn't want to be paid. He doesn't want to benefit from doing, he doesn't want to, what is it exactly? He doesn't want to benefit inappropriately from doing the right thing. It's something like that. And so it's another testament to his character, and a very complex testament, right? Because he's not a good man in any simple sense. I mean, look what's just happened. He's mounted an armed he's led an army into battle and participated in a slaughter. He refuses to benefit from it, except to get back what was his. That's it. He refuses to benefit from it, except to get back what was rightfully his. And in that way, he maintains his covenant with God.